Hello, it's me, itzanowski, and I'm back. Kind of. So I think the last video I uploaded was, it's already half a year old or something. And I did not have a lot of time during the last couple of months. So I bought a house. I have a second channel, so just a random channel where I just put really low effort content on, and I started some renovation vlogs until those were too much as well. And I have a full-time job. This is obviously just a hobby, so I have that job. I have a house that I have to renovate until the end of the year. I play in a couple of bands and I organize concerts. So yeah, as YouTube was the last hobby that I picked up, it was the first one to go now in these stressful times. So yeah, there were a couple of things that I did do during the last couple of months that were music related. It was not all work, thankfully. One of them being that I organized the first metal event in my city that was, part of a sponsored thing by the city. And, some people every year, it's called Sommer am U, which translates to summer at the U. So that U being a landmark in Dortmund in my city. And I organized the first metal event there. It went very well. I want to do it next year again, so let's see if that works. And another bigger event the week after, where I, had women, femme, like non-binary trans people on stage only, and it was a really cool event, so that took a lot of my time. But I also played some shows, and today I want to tell you a story about one of these shows, or what happened there, because I have this in the back of my mind. I've had this there the whole time, and was like, this is kind of interesting and ties in with a lot of the stuff that I say. So I don't have a script, as you can tell today, and so let's get into that now that I told you why I'm not very active. And by the way, spoiler alert, the next video you're going to see after this one is going to be a festival vlog, and I didn't want to, just come here like after 6, 7, 8 months and just post a festival vlog. But let's get into the story. So I think it was in April. I played a show with one of my bands that is, the only like more metal band. So the other one is Power Violence. The third one like feminist grunge punk. So with the metal band, there was a gig that we had planned long time ago, and actually our guitarist left the band. Didn't have time. We were going on for a long while. I think priorities just changed, so that's very normal. But we had this gig coming up, and we were like, okay, what are we going to do? And a friend of ours, he, said he could play drums, learn our songs, and play drums. But our drummer then had to learn the songs on guitar, and so we shifted around and played the gig. So it was actually a nice gig. We were kind of nervous because, that was the first time playing together in front of an audience. But it went well, and we were just doing our set. We had a lot of fun. And one of our songs, so the band is called Gott Morgen, in case you're interested. And yes, it is named after an IKEA product range. But that's not the point today. So one of our songs is called Rose, and most of the lyrics are written by me in that band. So it is a song about, a feminist song, basically. The ugly effort feminist. Basically it's a song about, how there's so much oppression, but we're just keeping on fighting and stuff. So because this is more of a metal band, we play in more, not really super left-wing venues all of the time. So they're not right-wing, but they're not specifically queer and left-wing focus or whatever. Usually my the things I say before the songs are a little bit more tamed and toned down, because I think as an artist you have to accommodate that to your audience sometimes. And what I just mentioned before the song, as always, is that the whole band was created out of spite because there are still not enough women in metal. And that I just said that sometimes being a woman in the metal scene can be a little bit weird, but yeah, whatever. I'm having a good time here, and that song goes out to all of the women and stuff. And nothing crazy, I think. And the crowd enjoyed the show. I was very happy. So it sounds super corny, but I'm so happy when we play shows and I see like women or queer people, like basically not just old true cis men having fun. I mean, of course, I have nothing against them having fun. That's great. But I'm truly enjoying myself when I see especially young girls there in the front row just having a blast. And there was one girl really enjoying herself, and it was just really great to see. And after the gig, she also came up to me and asked for our set lists. And that was just so cute. And, I really liked that. So, the gig was fine. I went to the merch stand, and there were a couple of people, just checking out our stuff. And there were two older guys who wanted to buy tapes because we have homemade tapes, and they asked us to sign them. So, I had to gather all of the guys to sign the tapes with me, and, get the right pen and all of that. So, I like signing things. I'm very excited to sign whatever, to be honest. Not whatever, but so yeah, there were these guys. They were really patient. They said they liked our set and everything. And just when I, wanted to hand him the tape and he was just handing me the money, he said, well, but, the thing that you said on stage about women in the scene, there were always women in metal. And I thought, oh, okay, here we go again. Let's see. And I said, well, yeah, okay, but, sometimes it's just a little bit hard or something. He said, well, yeah, but there were always women in metal, like Holy Moses, Doro. And I said, well, okay, but how many male artists can you name? Because he just stopped after two and he was like, see? And yeah, so he said, well, yeah, but they were always there, and I don't think there was any malicious intent here, because obviously this guy came up to me, he complimented our set, he wanted to buy tapes, he waited patiently for the signature. I really don't think there was malicious intent, but I just find it so interesting, and something that just comes up so much, that when I, as a woman, say, hey, I'm part of the scene, sometimes people get a bit weird about, women here, but, it's getting better. And yeah, you just say stuff like, this is my experience. And then someone comes up and says, well, but I kind of disagree with your experience or something. And it's so interesting, because I was thinking about why people do that. And I mean, the first thing I can think of is that, and I see that a lot in the comment section of my videos as well, it's just that people want to protect the scene. Like, if you say something negative, it doesn't always come from a place of, just wanting to destroy something. I'm not saying anything negative to destroy the metal scene. Critique can be constructive. And if you don't say anything negative at all, I mean, things just stay the same or get worse, So, but I think this is kind of a reflex that many have, that if I say, well, okay, this is sometimes difficult, oh, that is bad, so I have to disagree and say, well, no, everything's fine, which is weird, because why? We can just learn from stuff. And the second thing might just be mansplaining, just general mansplaining, like, okay, this was a guy maybe around 50 years old, and, you know, I'm a woman 20 years younger, so maybe it was just a regular old case of, you know, having to mansplain something. Not sure. And like I said, there was no malicious intent, I think, because he was otherwise very nice. And, you know, we were kind of like going back to that situation. We were kind of like, you know, I have the tape in one hand and he's just giving me the money. And, you know, I stopped moving when he brought it up and was like, okay, what? And, you know, when I said, well, you know, sometimes it's a bit weird, and I don't want there just to be women in the scene. I want, you know, on stage, in front of the stage, I want half of the people to be women, because, you know, the population is half female. I want queer people to feel safe and everything. So I said, well, I want half of the people to be women. And he just looked at me and, you know, nodded in acceptance. So he was not against that. But still, he needed to bring it up and defend the scene himself, maybe. I don't know. Like, yeah, I just found that very interesting. So, you know, we finished that transaction, and, you know, the evening went well and just went on. And like I said, it's not like I'm outraged by this. I just find it interesting because situations like that happen like all of the time, and you're just like, yeah, why? Anyway, that was a lot of rambling. I hope it made sense, because I'm just, you know, telling you something from memory that happened 4 months ago, and I also don't have a script and it's really hot, but I hope you enjoyed this. Anyway, just wanted to say hi again. I wanted to let you know that a festival vlog is coming, and, well, latest next year there will be a regular schedule kind of videos, because I have so many ideas. It's not that I'm out of ideas, that I don't enjoy this anymore, but there were really more important things and I just don't have the time. So have a good day. I don't know, what did I even used to say? I don't even know anymore. There's no cat here, so bye.